All right, so we're joined by my man, Coach Justin Washington, there in Yazoo City, Mississippi. We thank you so much for taking some time for us. People have been asking me, when can we get a teacher on here? And we finally did it. We're in the education career cluster for our college and career readiness class. I've got a room full here with me at Velma Jackson High School. We're recording this for all of our friends in Madison County schools: Rosa Scott, Madison Central, Germantown High School, Ridgeland High School, the Academic Options Center, and our YouTube channel. So thank you so much for fitting us in your busy schedule today.
No problem. No more. It's a pleasure to be on and participate in something like this.
That's awesome, and we want to hear all about what teachers do that I think a lot of kids don't understand. Also, all the great other careers in the school system. But just give us a little background because you are from Yazoo City, there in the Delta. Went to Delta State, played football at Delta State, went to the military, and have gotten multiple degrees from Belhaven. Now we say that because so many careers I've talked about on this platform, I have said, if you don't want to go to college, you can still do this. But to be a teacher in the state of Mississippi, you have to have a college degree. So take us through your journey, through all of your various degrees, and how it led you to where you are now.
Okay. Well, first, man, I just like to tell everybody, I didn't set out to be a teacher. That's the first thing I like to tell everybody whenever I talk about my career. Man, I wanted to play football. Uh, that's all I knew. I was gonna play football. I was gonna play football. Uh, my counselor kind of felt like that I was pretty smart coming out of high school, and so she decided to think that I should be a nurse. And I took my first semester of classes with biology lab and chem lab, all while playing football, and I knew I couldn't do that. Yes, it wasn't. And a man by the name of Randy Grierson was my academic advisor for Delta State football team, and he came to me and asked me had I ever thought about teaching and coaching. And we sat down and talked about it, and I changed my major instantly. Uh,
Wow.
but circumstances happened, and I ended up having twin daughters, and so I left college, went to the military, went to the National Guard, try to get some benefits stuff like that. And I came back to finish my degree, but I knew I wanted to stay in teaching and coaching, and so once I got back in and started, I just kept going. Got my bachelor's. I enrolled right away into the MAT program at Belhaven. And while I was in the MAT program, they started the specialist and doctoral program. And so as
Yeah.
soon as I finished my master's, I rolled right into the specialist and would have been ready to be administrator, but I got deployed. So I couldn't do it. So I still finished my specialist degree, so I hold a special education leadership. It was just not the licensure route. And so now now we're here. I've been doing this now since 2014. Been in the classroom. I've taught second grade. I've taught 4 through 6
Wow.
math. I've taught 8th grade ELA. Uh, I've taught PE, of course, at high school. I've taught American government economics, and now I teach world history. So I've had a full extension of different classes to provide in the education setting,
Yeah.
and it all has its own rewards and perks.
Yeah, and not to mention you've coached multiple sports, driving buses, just being pulled so many different hats. And for all the people that complain about, we can't find any good teachers. Well, the good ones work so many things behind the scenes that people don't see. So talk about all the different areas you've been pulled on top of having your academic requirements as a teacher.
All right. Well, so one thing I always like to say, and I've been saying this since I was even younger, if someone finds out that you will work, they're going to work you to death. You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's been my life in education. Once I got my CDLs, I always had to drive. Once they found out I didn't mind teaching other subjects, I was going to teach other subjects. And then the coaching thing, I started out only coaching basketball and football. But once I came to Yazoo City, we ended up having a shortage on a baseball coach. We didn't have one to get the season started, and I actually played baseball at Yazoo City. And so my AD knew that because he coached me in football, and so I ended up getting a baseball job. What was supposed to be 1 year, and then um, they found a new coach, and then he ended up leaving, so I had to do it again this year. So,
Yeah,
um,
and RIP to our friend Gerald Payton, who was the baseball coach there for several years, who passed away a few years ago. But unbelievable guy. Spent some time at Velma Jackson, so we'd be remiss if we did not mention the great Gerald Payton, who was
yes,
the baseball coach there at Yazoo City.
yes, sir, definitely. And that actually was my first love was baseball, and then I happened to get good in football and basketball, and kind of stuck with those after I moved. But yeah, Gerald was a big inspiration for me. He's actually the reason I'm a Florida Gators fan right now. So yeah, so it's been uh, one of my guys mentors growing up. But yeah, so on top of all that, man, the lesson plans that come along with it, the breaking up fights, the added security to the school, the added on administrator to the school, just it's all kind of things coming along with it. Like I said, once they find out that you will help out, they're gonna use your help, and then that's a lot of things. That's something rather that a lot of people don't talk about. It's just
Yeah,
um,
and
one.
along the same lines, something that you added that is really good. The more things that you can do, the easier it is for you to find a job.
Yeah,
Because I cannot tell you how many young people right out of college have said, I really want to be a coach, but nobody will hire me. And the first thing I ask them is, well, what are you certified in?
right.
Because if you only have a couple of things that you can teach, it's harder to fit people in spots. Back when I was still coaching football, I would have coaches say, "Look, we'd love to have you here, but I don't have something in what you are certified in."
Right.
So the more things that you can get certified in to teach, it is amazing the avenues that can be for you at pretty much anywhere.
Yeah, and just like anything with education, you have to make yourself marketable. Uh, I like to say, and I say this all the time, man. And this is no knock to anybody else, but I am a male. Okay, I'm a minority, and I hold a specialist degree. Okay, that's three things. I have a military background, right? And I played college football. You see what I'm saying? So right away, I have a few things going for me that are going to help me in the education system. It's just, there's no way around. It's just what it is. And so if you make yourself marketable for people to hire you, then you also make yourself less likely to get fired too. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
that's all be a spot for you. So even if we bring in somebody that's better at this job that you were doing, hey, we have something else that you still can help us out with. And so more marketable you are, and that's with any career you choose, the better it's going to be for you in that career. And I stand firmly on that, and I try to make myself
absolutely.
more and more. I've been in school since I got back from the military. I've been in school since 2013. Uh,
Wow.
so I went straight from 2013 to 2022. I started on my doctorate, and then in 23 when I got the head job, it was just too much, and so I kind of backed out of the doctor. But I'm going back to school now to get my athletic administration. Just always trying to find a way to steadily build up on what I have going on and make myself more marketable, and just being able to share more things with my students as well. The more I learn, the more I grow, the more I can share with the students and better them.
Yeah, and that's such a good point because, and again, we need, I'm on this platform all the time talking about we need women in certain fields. We need more men to get into education. It is almost to an epidemic level of the lack of minority men that are becoming teachers today. And some of it is because of things you just mentioned about people think they're not gonna get paid enough. People think they're, and look, it's in the news. It's no secret about the teacher pay. But at the same time, we also mentioned some extra things you can do. But one great thing about this that I think a lot of people overlook is because of the steady schedule of teaching, you're able to do other things. There are so many teachers, including myself, that have other streams of income that can supplement things. And on top of that, you have state benefits. You know your schedule years in advance. You can plan things. You can have a family. So it really is something that is a lot more secure and stable than some of these other, quote, lucrative careers that young men go after. And look, everybody's options are different. Everybody's loves are different. But I just encourage anybody, don't not go into something because you think you can't make any money doing it.
Right. My advice, and this advice actually given to me by the guy I mentioned earlier, which is he's Dr. Randy Grierson. Man, you find something that you love doing, right? And so the money will come. He told me that, and I know people hear, people saying that all the time, but this was actually true for me. When I first started out teaching, I think my first contract might have been like 35,000. Right now, not a lot of money. That was my teacher contract, but the more I've been in it, I actually love doing what I'm doing. The money comes. The money is gonna come. If you stay in coaching long enough, you stay in teaching long enough, you'll make some money. But like you said, you also have time to do other things. Man, I'm buying 15 acres right now, so I can start dealing with cattle. Me and my son
Wow.
we ride horses together, and so I have time to do a lot of those things. I'm in a fraternity as well, and so I have time to go to those meetings, and it just gives me a lot of time to do other things. Now, coaching takes a lot of time. I will say that being a head coach, it took a lot of time from me, but I still had my schedule. You know what I'm saying? So even though I was fulfilled a lot of times, I still could make a schedule to give myself a day off, and then that day
Yeah.
off I could do whatever I need to do and things like that. And so, man, yeah, yeah, starting out it probably won't be the most lucrative job for you, but man, the benefits outlast everything in my opinion.
Yeah, and it really is something where you get tangible benefits because and I tell these kids all the time when I say things about them on here, I'm not just saying it. The tangible benefits that we get seeing them grow and learn things that to be able to expose kids to things that they may not have had any other chance to be exposed to if it had not been for teachers. It's such a great reward, and I'd rather do that than make more money. And something else that we'd be remiss if we did not speak about is there are other careers besides teaching in the school system that we desperately need talented people in. We have I'm sorry, three, four. I don't want to overlook somebody. We have four amazing women here at Velma Jackson that do a great job in our office, managing the money, managing all the schedules, the attendance. We desperately need people to get into that in your local school system. Great technology people, great finance people, bus drivers, food service, security. There are so many ways that you can work in the school system and not be in the classroom that just require so many different types of skills that are, again, you're a state employee, you get the state benefits, you know your schedule weeks and years in advance. So it can be another great area for you to get involved in.
Yeah. And man, like I said, honestly, man, this was not my first, you know. But once being in it and once seeing the benefits, it became something I love. And ultimately, I wanted to become a superintendent. No, that was my goal. Like I'm gonna keep going. I become a superintendent one day. As I've been in it, man, I like being more around the school. At most, I probably would want to be a principal. But man, I like being around the school. I like shaking the hands, bumping the guys. Hey, how y'all doing? I like that aspect of being in the school. And so I think going to a more superintendent central office job, man, I don't think I like it anymore. I really just like the engagement that I have on a day-to-day basis with students. I like just knowing that, hey, look, I can tell they're having a bad day now. Hey, we can talk. They come out my room, whatever the case may be. But just that everyday interaction is what what gets me up in the morning and want me to come work. So now that I've been in it, I probably changed my mind. If anybody decides to go into education, you're probably gonna have some of that same thought process. I know people that have gotten in to just be a teacher, and then like, oh, I think I can do the administration thing, and they end up doing it. So, once you get into the career, then you will find your niche and where you belong. Some people get in and become counselors. Academic counselors. Like, man, we're short on academic counselors here. You know, and so that's something, and just that transcript and knowing what classes these kids need to take, and especially for me as a coach, I'm always dealing with coaches that need transcript, and we got to make sure some of our kids graduate in December, and do they have what they need, and having a good academic counselor that can be here and knows how to communicate those needs with the students as well as the adults, man, it's next level, and so that's another great career that I've seen here. And like you said, even I'm gonna tell you one that a lot of people overlook that we have trouble with is maintenance. The maintenance people.
I was going to mention that the trade people in the school system are huge.
So and we have a Votech here. So we are steadily producing people every day that could fit into that trade realm. But that's a shortage for us. It's just having maintenance people that are here to, and we have an older school, so there's always something going wrong, always something happening. And so a good trade person, good electrician, good HVAC person, construction. We have construction. All those people work within the school system, and they get paid pretty good, but it's just hard to find. You know,
Yeah, and painters, locksmiths, they are
right?
so needed in every school district. And like you said, they're hard to find and they are vital to the community.
Yeah, yeah, right. And our school wouldn't function if we didn't have somebody to fix those type things. Because that's not my role. I don't claim to be an expert in it at all. So we need those type of people in the school system, and they walk around too. I mean, the kids see them as well, and you still get a chance to interact, and they're not shunned upon or anything like that. So just always want to keep your options open and know that like you said, just the benefits of it alone, are a great thing. It's a great way to look at going into education.
Yeah, and I'm about to get to their questions, but one more thing I wanted to mention is this is something that is a extremely transferable skill. I have kids all the time say, "I want to live in XYZ. I want to, I want to go here." Well, education can do that for you. I mean, even if you stay within the state of Mississippi, look at these large school systems up near Memphis, DeSoto County. They're always hiring people. You look down on the coast, down in Harrison County, always hiring people. Some of the places around here, there is the opportunity to go to a different area and live there and still, get this same career with the same benefits that you got in Mississippi.
Right. I deployed 2018 to 2019. I got back February of 2019, and man, I had bought a house in South Carolina, actually Columbia, South Carolina. And so when I got back, I was at home maybe a month, and the school had hired. I put in my application once I got back. They called me maybe 2 weeks later, did my interview, and 2 weeks after that, they had approved me by the board, and I had a job. So it was an easy transition, just because, like I say, everybody needs teachers. Everybody needs somebody that works in the school system, and they had some openings, and it was some great openings. I worked in Richardson Two School District out there, and so it was a great time. But I don't know if I would have been able to find a job that easy had not I been marketable in education.
Love it. Well, I do have some questions here, and and I said, look, this is finally y'all's chance to ask a teacher some questions.
Yeah,
So, I love this first one. This is John Kincaid. He's in 10th grade, and he asked, "You've talked about all the different subjects you taught. Where do you get the material to teach?"
John, well, I like to say this, there's nothing new on the sun. So I always former teachers is a very good resource. And then just the internet. There are so many people out here that now have teachers pay teachers and things like that. And so once I find out the curriculum that the state goes by, then I start reaching out and finding things that go along with their curriculum. Uh, I prefer to say that my teaching style is a real life scenario style. So I don't just like teaching history. I like to put it into present day scenarios. So it's always easy to look online or find things to go along with that. And being that history is my main subject that I teach, I always like to tie music into that because I'm a big music guy. So you would be surprised of the amount of songs that you could use to teach history. The amount of songs that talk about things that have gone on in just our history and across the world. So there are a vast amount of resources, but I definitely start with former teachers of the subject and then the internet.
Man, I tell you, and it's crazy the access that we have now that teachers in the past didn't have. I love this question. This is Jaheim Reed. He's in 10th grade, one of our choir members here at Velma Jackson, and he asked, "As a football coach, are you only trying to win games, or are you actually trying to help kids stay in shape and better their overall long-term health?"
Well, for me, I think winning is the byproduct. And honestly, man, we haven't been able to win as much as I would have liked here. But man, we've done so many good things. I've in my 3 years here, I've sent uh 14 different kids to college. That hadn't happened here
Wow.
in a long time, and that's football players, managers as well. And I'm a real big person of being in shape. Like I said, I did 13 years in the military, so of course, running and lifting and all that kind of stuff goes in. And I just think that the more you get kids prepared physically, then and mentally, it'll help you win games. And so winning is the last thing we worry about. We mostly worry about building the player and the athlete first, and then winning is a byproduct of that. I learned that from a veteran coach when I first got into it, named Greg Carter. He used to coach at Starboard High School, and I implemented that from day one, and that's always my thing, man. You got to build a person, then the group, and then the team, and then let winning be the byproduct for sure.
Big time. All right, I got time for two more. This is Shania Willis. She's in 10th grade, one of our basketball players, one of our track team members, just all around doing everything here. And she asked, do you see education in Mississippi changing in the next 10 years?
I would hope so. I would hope so. If you look at the ratings and things like that, we're particularly behind. So I would hope that there would be some changes to move us forward. But one thing that you mentioned earlier is that the access, and that's what we as teachers, I feel like, have to start addressing to our kids as well. It's like, don't just limit learning to the classroom setting of Mississippi. You have so much access to learn on your own. You have so much access to verify what's being said. You know what I'm saying? And so, one thing that I do hate about the access is the access to AI now, because I think that even we're already behind, and I think that limits us even more because now you're not really learning. You're just looking for the short answer. So I would just suggest that, even though we are on the rating scale kind of behind, that you just utilize your access to actually learn and not skip the process.
Yeah, and look, and because in some of my classes, we can use AI for so many things that are helpful. It's, business owners use it to format things. It really can be a tool, but I agree, it needs to be used the right way. And it should never think for you. It should never think for anybody. And I think we're going to agree on that all day long. I got one more. This is Kelsey Slaughter. She's in 10th grade, one of our volleyball players here, also just a huge leader on campus. And she asked, what has been the most rewarding part about being a teacher?
The most rewarding part is having a kid that was in my class, um, that went through the process with me, whether I coached them or just in the classroom, and they come back and tell me, Coach, you were right. And so that is the most rewarding thing for me, is to know that the advice I gave, or whatever I put out there to that student or athlete, it was right, that they learned something from what I gave them, and that they applied it. So many times you see in the classroom that, a lot of children like to buck the system because of they don't want to follow authority, or whatever the case may be. But then when they come back and say, Coach, you know what, you were right. I appreciate it. I appreciate everything you told me. I appreciate what you taught me, and you were right. And that's more rewarding than anything, ever, man. It's being able to know that what you put out to the students, that it was actually helpful.
Yeah, and it's crazy that you said that because I was having that same conversation with our man Casey Meeks this morning. Because I always say, I just told him, I said, I have lost count of the amount of kids that have come back and said, hey, I should have listened to you. You were right. And I don't see it as I told you so, because I'm not trying to trick people. I'm not trying to scare them. But it's important that teachers are preparing them for what's going to happen. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, especially for these young black kids, and especially for some of our first generation Americans. They're going to face different obstacles that people don't see, and they need to be ready for it. We're not
Right.
trying to scare them. We're not trying to say you can't do it, but we're trying to say, hey, this is what's going to happen when you get to XYZ.
Right. And the good thing about it, if you're able to come back and tell me that you figured it out, it was not too. That's the good thing
Yeah.
about it. So,
Now we're almost out of time, and we thank you so much for shedding a little light on this for us. But a couple things before we go. You know, like we mentioned, a lot of young men aren't going into this field for various reasons. But watch it, all of our kids, our young ladies too, really consider getting into the education field.
definitely, definitely. I think this the rewards and the benefits alone. If you don't know what you want to do, if you don't have an idea of what's next, man, you can always give back. And I think teaching is a great way to give back, and the rewards and benefits that come along with it would be something that you'll love for a lifetime. And that's why I got into it, and man, I'm still in it. All these years later. So
Yeah, and the last thing before we go, and I always have this same thought with all of our men that we have on this platform is we have lost too many young black men over the last few years to incarceration, to homicide, to just really making bad decisions. So I just encourage everybody, look at you, look at such a great positive black male in our community. There's nothing lame about being a good student. There's nothing lame about setting an example that is positive. So I understand TikTok's got a hold on people. You know, that life may seem cool, it may seem like it's fun. There is nothing fun about making those decisions that leave you behind bars or dead.
yeah,
And it's a sad reality, but you know, reach out to people like you, reach out to other people you can trust. There are people in these schools that will help you, and then you follow, and that's the people you need to follow. And you know, especially these young men as they start making decisions, because every teaching ain't for everybody. We all know that. But at the end of the day, why should our young men really look to our male leaders to say, "Hey, this is what's possible for you"?
right, right. And I'm gonna tell you, man, this is something I started doing when I first started teaching. Like, I made sure I wore the Jordans. I made sure I wore the most up to date shoes. I made sure I had my chains on. I'm a big watch guy. I have my watch on because I wanted people to see that, hey, look, you can do, and have doing this career. If you budget your money correctly, if you live within your means, you can have all the nice things in life that anybody else does. And so I made a point of that. On game day, I never wear the same pair of shoes twice. On game day, I wanted to show them that, hey, look, you can have nice things. I make sure that have my credit right and I can get a nice truck because I want to show people that, hey,
Yep,
look, you can do it the right way and still have nice things because at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do is have nice things. And so
absolutely.
you see a person with nice things, if they're doing illegal activity or things like that, then that's what you're gonna want to do. And you really can't blame a kid for that because everybody wants nice things. So if I can be a beacon of light to show you that, hey, look, even in my career, in my time, that I'm still able to have nice things, then if I'm saving one or two, that's better than none.
Absolutely. Well, go dap it up with my man, Coach Hillary Price over there. Tell him I said what's up. But thank you so much for joining us today. Justin Washington, my man. Thank you so much for being with us today.
Yes, sir.
See ya.